Hello, friends. My name is Jade, and I'm a woman. This channel is going to eventually be like a diary or reaction channel. I'm going to put my thoughts and feelings about being a woman online. I'm going to respond to questions from people, or just generally respond to the discourse online, on the subject of femininity and womanhood. And part one of this story is about me, Jade, and the story of how I came to be a woman. And unfortunately, this means a quick rundown of my whole life story, so buckle in. Um, just realized I'm wearing like a red cardigan with a red tank top. Like, what the fuck? Okay, I just really like the color red. So, I was born at the humble age of 0 in a hospital in Wurrunga, in a suburb of Sydney in New South Wales. And like about 5% of people, I was born with a body that did not match my gender identity. And I wish I could tell you I realized this very early, and I was one of these girls who started talking about dysphoria at a young age. But no, I never said anything about being unhappy about my gender as a kid, or tried to do the things you see girls doing. Like, I've heard stories about trans men, like, full on, like, creating packers or trying to pee facing the toilet, um, like, from the age of 5. I didn't have any of that. Um, Rather, my experience of dysphoria was, instead of feeling unhappy about my gender, I just felt unhappy. I was a socially awkward kid for most of my life. I was prone to emotional outbursts. I was prone to violence against other students and myself. And I had like nervous breakdowns, like all the way from primary school until like about like year 4, year 5 of secondary school. But there were personal things happening at home. My dad became estranged from the family. There was a divorce happening. This was all teenage angst, they said. And I believed that. I bore my discomfort and emotions firm in the belief that my teenage angst was going to be temporary. My adulthood would come and fix me. I graduated secondary and I went to the National College of Art and Design in Dublin. At this point, I was not a teenager, but the angst didn't stop. It got worse. I had even more depression. I had more emotional breakdowns. I started losing weight to the point of being like visibly unhealthy. I am about 6 foot tall, and at one point I got to like 68, 67 kilograms, which is not good. So, my mum basically made me go to my GP. I started on antidepressants, and let me tell you, antidepressants really, really help to an extent. I stopped having like emotional breakdowns. I stopped doing bad things to myself. I started gaining weight back. The only problem is I lacked energy and motivation. Like, I scraped through my final year of college. I got an internship. I had both boyfriends and girlfriends. Um, but no matter what it did, it felt like I could not keep any of the good things in my life. I couldn't get a job after internships. I couldn't um, keep up any relationships. I can tell you for the most part, sex with me was not pleasant. Particularly with women, I just felt confused by sex. And frankly, um, being around women's bodies made me very uncomfortable, and that didn't help. I don't think I was doing a particularly good job with any of my partners. Mostly, like, I felt like I was just like, I have to speed run through this and get this over and done with, because otherwise, like, I don't know, it was making me feel too weird. Um, so every day was like just putting one foot in front of the other and not understanding why I was doing it. So I was in my like well into my 20s at this point, 23, 24, and I still had teenage angst. So I continued scraping by with internships. I reapplied to college. I studied illustration in Ballyfermot, and once again, I barely scraped by. And this is one of the hardest things for me, is that I consider myself an artist, and even this thing which I loved, my art, was letting me down. I was doing art and full time. I was doing art full time, and it was not making me happy. I couldn't find the passion in me to love art anymore, and another part of me just felt stripped away. disabled. I started a new job working in Trinity College Dublin. I was making decent money. The people were nice. I was helping adult education, and once again, one foot in front of the other. The teenage angst was still with me. 9 years on antidepressants hadn't made any difference at all. Um, Even if I was no longer actively hurting myself, I still couldn't answer the question of why I exist, of like what I'm doing. I was working because I had to. You have to have a job, but I didn't know what I was working for, you know? I felt like I was just going to work and die and none of it would have mattered. Um, sorry. Um, then came a weird experience. I was filling out contract forms with my boss. Um, sorry, I was with my boss. I was filling out forms for taking my job off of contract and onto casual. That's a different story. And my boss says gender male, ticking the form, and I say yes, but a voice in my head very strongly said no. I felt like I was lying to her, but I went along and did the form anyway. And from there, I it was a slow process of questioning. Um, I dyed my hair. I tried wearing skirts occasionally. By this point, because of depression, I'd gained a lot of weight, and most of it was on my stomach and in like a very unfeminine sort of pattern. And I still have that weight. I'm still trying to lose it. And I felt ridiculous for trying to even look like anything other than a man. And I gave it up. And that winter of 2022, I was having an exceptionally bad time once again. I was back to self harm, even on antidepressants. I was back to texting the suicide hotline, and the shadow over me was getting exceptionally dark. I'd been a long time questioning my future at this point, and now I wondered if I even deserved to have a future. I was, I'm, I am 29 years old, still living at home, still struggling to pay rent, still the angsty teenager I was at 15, unable to handle my shit. um, so depression. I think a lot of people um, who might be watching this will know that it has a way of messing with your memory. There are huge swathes of my childhood which are lost to me, possibly forever. And at this point, where I had some serious distress, the next point in my story, I went back to the idea of transitioning and properly. I went online and I started researching HIT. I by sometime around Christmas, I had ordered and some of it had arrived. Just the cyprosa acetate, no E. It was a very expensive, confusing process to embark on, and it was a lonely process as well because at this point I hadn't met any other trans people. I put myself down as trans in my dating profiles, but it was still a secret from my work and my family at this point. But then another strange thing happened. Before I'd even started like medically transitioning, a trans woman messaged me on Hinge. She said, "Hey, I'm kind of dated out, but there's a social night happening for trans femmes soon, and I should come by." And that social group, I think it saved my life. I felt like I crossed the threshold into my home, and it was a home I never knew existed, but one that I was always destined to come back to. From the moment I was born in that hospital on the other side of the world 29 years ago, this group of other trans women felt like home. It reminded me of art college before my depression ruined it. It was the people I wanted to be with and felt like being with. People who were weird and different in all the same ways I was. And I can't describe to you the feeling of assurance I got from that. And that was that. I think at that point the die was cast. Uh, Jade was born. The depression subsided. I started losing weight. I met my girlfriend, who I love to pieces, and I got a new and permanent job, and there is nothing anyone could say that would make me want to take back the decision to transition. So that is the story of how it was I came to be a woman. And I've had people ask me that, like, hey, if you were given the chance, would you rather be born cis, as a man or a woman? And like, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, not really. I wish I had discovered that I was trans earlier, but I don't want this. I don't think I would be who I am if it wasn't a part of me, you know? I think I would be someone different, and I'm happy with who I am. So, yeah, no, this thing, everything worked out how it was supposed to. That's what I think. And now I'm beginning this journey with a new, beautiful girlfriend, a new life, and I've just never been happier. Never been happier in my life.